All right, here we are once again.
Yo, Alan.
Radical Civics. And today we are going to, what are we going to do? We're going to talk about how to file a lawsuit. But first, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to actually go through the history of a lawsuit that the farm actually filed.
Can I speak for us for not liking Radiohead?
We'll talk about that. That's a good question. But I wanted to do, one thing I wanted to, remember we did a criminal trial last week? We actually did, we went through what's called a bail hearing, but then we made it into an actual trial where we had a jury. Well, everybody remember the 10 Commandments, the Bill of Rights, which is the first 10 amendments. Well, okay. It says in all criminal, amendment number 6 says in all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy trial and public trial by an impartial jury of the state. So, and to be able to confront witnesses against him. Now, did that happen in that trial last week? Was I brought to, what's that out there? Oh, hey. Was I brought to trial in a speedy manner?
Within the hour, I'd say so.
Within an hour, yeah, that was pretty fast. Okay, now, amendment number 8. I was waiting for Noah to say this. This is something he needs to know. Hey, Noah, class started, come on. And this is a lesson for you. You better get in here. Okay. Okay. Late. See, he's late on camera. All right. All right, we're just talking about last week's, this is very strange. It's kind of off center. Does anybody ever watch Monk, the TV program? I love that program.
Is that the detective that's afraid of germs?
Right, right. You notice how my display here is slightly off center? Monk would be fixing it. Anyway, amendment number 8. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fee imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. Remember, Noah, that nasty DA was asking for a gazillion bucks bail on me for stealing Noah's laptop. Of course, he was very objective. That wouldn't be allowed. Noah would only allow maybe stealing a laptop, he might get, depending on how bad I was. Let's say I had killed a bunch of people beforehand. Well, I might get $1 million bail. But it was just my first offense, okay, and I was the first time I ever stole a laptop in my entire life. He maybe could get $5,000 bail on me.
The prosecution asks for the defendant to be remanded.
Okay, here, this is for you. It's your own personal copy of the Bill of Rights. You can study it. Now, I wanted to go back to something else we talked about. Remember farm government, the old farm? I remember I said we used to hold all things in common. This is a vow of poverty that everybody used to sign. When you came here, you had to vow that you were going to be poor. And it says we're organized on a communal basis according to the book of Acts of the New Testament. We have a common treasury, all money from whatever source is given to our bank, which distributes the money according to need. No individual member of our church owns property. And no part of the net earnings of the foundation shall inure to the benefit of any private shareholders. And that means none of the earnings of the farm could ever go to anybody else, or if a member is given money or property to the community, he's not entitled to get that money and property back. So like for me, I came here with a guitar. I never got my guitar back. I wasn't entitled to it. Some people gave $5. Other people, there's somebody who gave $300,000 to the farm. They never got it back. So just want to tell you a little bit about that. Now, shut the camera off just for a minute. So, does everybody see this? Can you see this? You may have to move over and see this. Okay. Okay. To review class, we talked about the 3 wrongs that can be committed. Does everybody remember what they are? 3 wrongs. Yes? What's one wrong? A crime. You commit a crime against society. What's the other wrong? Karuna. A tort. Very good. And a breach of contract. Right. Those are the 3 wrongs. Okay, and we've talked about a crime. Alan Graf was found guilty of stealing Noah's laptop, even though Noah doesn't have a laptop anymore. Man, jury, I'll tell you. Could the jury go to jail for the wrong verdict against Alan? Don't worry. Everybody's like worried. No. Couldn't happen. Couldn't happen. And now with today, so that's when a crime's committed, you saw how the sheriff came in, Sherlock Holmes, the investigator, the cops came in, arrested Alan, put me in handcuffs and took me away. That's a criminal. That's a criminal procedure. Now there's what's called the civil wrong. That's a tort or a breach of contract. Let's say one of you, for instance, Zach is asking whether he can sue Forrest because Forrest doesn't like Radiohead.
Radiohead sucks.
Shut up.
No.
Okay.
Yes.
No, you can't sue him.
Staring
What?
you down.
No.
However,
Yes, I can.
but wait, if Radiohead heard Forrest was putting out stuff on the internet saying that Radiohead sucks and it interfered with their sales, then they could sue Forrest for defamation. Defamation meaning bad-mouthing somebody. Defamation. Yeah. Okay. Now, let me tell you about a real-life lawsuit that happened, and I'm going to actually give you the legal papers. I made copies of all the legal papers for everyone here to have and look at. You can see what's actually involved in a lawsuit. And here they are. You ready? You can get this, you're going to get to see a whole, take this home and look at it, a whole lawsuit. This actually happened. Here you go. Okay.
What does PC stand for? I don't think it's personal computer. Alan's not a personal computer.
Personal computer. Okay. All right. Now, let me tell you what happened. All right. Maybe like a couple of 2-3 months after I got back to the farm, I'd moved back to the farm, and someone called me up and said, you know, they knew I was a lawyer, and someone said to me, hey, Alan, guess what? I heard a group is going to move right next to the farm, right down here on Walker Road, and they're like this paramilitary group. They're going to come in and like do training of all these like private military contractors. They're going to be shooting and dropping bombs, and helicopters are going to be coming in and doing all this nasty stuff. It's going to be going on day and night, and they're going to have all these people maybe coming in and spying on the farm. What do you think about that? I said, don't sound too good. Well, what can we do? I said, well, we could talk to them and see if they would maybe change their mind, but I kind of doubt it. Or we can, what's the word? Sue them. All right. You've got that great American buzzword, sue them. But guess what? Sue me, right. But guess what? On the farm, everybody would rather work things out. Everybody like, peace and love, brother. And suing has this bad name. It's like fighting and lawyers get involved. It's like, yuck. We don't want to do that. That's confrontational. That's bad. So at first, most of the people, well, a lot of the people on the farm didn't want to sue. They said, let's work it out with them. It's bad, negative vibes to sue anybody. So we tried finding out who they were. They didn't want to tell us. As a matter of fact, they came and talked to the local sheriff, about 3 guys. And they told the sheriff, hey, we're going to be doing like a shoot house here. And we're going to be, maybe dropping some fake bombs, bringing in some Black Hawk helicopters. Nothing too, nothing
Black
too.
Hawk helicopters cost $9 million.
Yeah. Nothing too big. And the sheriff says, well, who are you? Well, we'd rather not say it's secret, but we'll give you our cell phone and our email. So they didn't even tell the sheriff who they were, okay? And we were talking to the sheriff, and he gave us the email and the cell phone. And we called the cell phone. Joel, who's one of the other lawyers on the farm, called the cell phone and left a message saying, hi, we're from the farm. We'd like to talk to you about putting in this like facility next door to us. Never answered us. And we emailed them. And we said, hey, hi, we're your friendly neighbors. We heard you're going to be putting in this place. And they never called us back. So one day I called up Joel. Oh, all right. So as starting this whole thing out, I called up Joel one day, who's the other farm lawyer, and I said, hey, let's go out to the land. Just drive out there and check it out and see what happens, okay? So we drove out. Everybody know where Walker Road is? It's right, as you come to the farm, if you make a right there, that's Walker Road. We drove out Walker Road and we kept going. Who's ever been out there? Way out to the county road?
All the way through to the
Yeah.
sunset.
We went out there, went all the way out, and we found this guy who was a surveyor, who is, and we ran into him, and we said, what are you doing? He goes, well, I'm going to meet the people who are going to buy the land. We went, yes! So we followed him, and by the way, what they had done is, I don't know if you've ever taken, that Walker Road actually goes all the way to Mountjoy Road. You can follow it all the way through. Has anybody ever done that?
Yeah.
Driven the whole way? Well, these folks who were buying the land blocked off the gate there. They put huge boulders in front of the gate, and so we're trying to make it a private road. And this road had been a public road since like 1900s. Woody, ask you, who's our...
Immigrants would travel on that
Yeah,
road from
people...
Southtown to Mount Pleasant.
Right, people were driving on it with horse and buggy way back, and they tried to block it off and make it this private road. So what happened, they put the boulders there, all the local folks removed the boulders, and they put boulders back, people removed the boulders. That kept happening again and again. So anyway, we follow this guy. We're figuring we'd like to meet these guys. So we drive all the way through, and we get all the way to the end, to Mountjoy Road, and we see 2 or 3 Jeeps over there with Air Force stickers on them. And about 2 or 3 guys are standing around with like crew cuts. They didn't look like me. They didn't have long hair or anything. And they're talking to this surveyor. So we go up to him and say, hey, how you doing? Who are you? Oh, we're from the farm. We're your new neighbors. We'd like to talk with you, meet with you. Not pertinent. We'll say, we'd like to meet with you. Not pertinent. Okay, well, we're kind of curious what you're going to be doing here on the new land. Not pertinent. So we heard that you're going to be using a lot of guns and dropping bombs and doing military training. Is that true? Not pertinent. It's like, okay. Does this guy know any other answer other than not pertinent?
Everyone wants to know what pertinent means.
What is pertinent? Not important, not relevant. It's mostly like they could have said to us, screw you. That would have been a more direct way of saying what they really meant. But anyway, they kept saying that. So we said, well, listen, even if you don't like us or you don't think it's important, don't you think it would be good to get to know your new neighbors? So we won't talk to you until the sale's completed. I said, okay. So me and Joel got back in the truck, and as we're leaving, I pull out my little handy digital camera. I took their pictures, which of course they just loved. Took pictures of their license plates, took pictures of all the insignias on their trucks. And we went back and we told everybody on the farm what had happened. Well, that little episode started convincing people that unless we actually filed what was called a lawsuit against these people, they were going to do whatever they wanted to do because we were impertinent. Even though we had been here 35 years and we had established ourselves as a community that people knew and liked, and we were hard workers, and this was our place. We raised our kids here. We weren't pertinent, according to these people. We weren't important. We weren't relevant. It didn't matter what we thought. They were just going to do whatever they wanted to do. So, what was the problem? Okay, now if you file a lawsuit, this was a good question before about what Zach was talking about. If you file a lawsuit against somebody, you need a reason to do it. Okay? What was our reason? You can't just file a lawsuit. Let's say I don't like Noah. I really do, but let's say I don't like him. Can I file a lawsuit against Noah because I don't like him? No. Can I file a lawsuit against Forrest because I don't like his choice of bands? No. But why? What was the reason the farm could file a lawsuit against this corporation? Yeah.
They're going to be using guns, and one of the bullets might hurt one of the persons and people, and the bomb could blow up one of your sites, and that wouldn't be good at all.
Okay, so you're saying that the use of bombs and the guns could affect our safety, right? Okay, how about loud noise? Do you think that's okay to file a lawsuit against somebody who's going to move into the property next to you because they're going to make too much noise?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. Yes and no. That's a tough one. In Tennessee, this is the pioneer state. And everybody like here wants to be able to do whatever they want to do. And don't tell me what I'm going to do on my property. You know, that's the way a lot of people think around here. So Tennessee law, the law isn't sympathetic to you filing a lawsuit against somebody who's going to move next to you, who's going to do a lot of shooting and banging and stuff like that. But we found this thing, when you file a lawsuit, you need a good reason. It's called a cause of action. Okay? Cause of action. What's your reason to file a lawsuit? And our first reason was, you're going to like this. The people who were buying the land next to us were creating a nuisance. They were bothering us. They're creating a nuisance. And in the law, you're allowed to file a lawsuit against somebody who creates a nuisance. So let's say Forrest moves right next to me, okay? And Forrest plays, and I don't like Radiohead. Let's say I don't like Radiohead, and Forrest plays loud Radiohead at 2 in the morning, the whole album 4 times, and he does that every night.
Can I come over to your house, Forrest? Please? Sorry.
But I don't like Radiohead. You can come
Okay.
to the jam.
Let's say he does that. Could I file a lawsuit against him? Probably could. Could I ask the cops to come and shut him down? Probably could, because it would be against the noise ordinance. So there's 2 things I could do. But if it wasn't a crime, because he's creating a nuisance. So we said, and we sent them a letter. Everybody pick up your little packet here. And I wrote, my first thing you notice, it says, greetings. It's kind of a funny way of saying, hi, we're going to sue you. Yo! Hey, dude, what's happening? We're about to sue your butt in the court. Let's try to be friendly. And it's mostly like, when you sue somebody, it's actually like, you ever see a karate match where the 2 people go like this? They go, oh, honored to be with you. I kick your butt. Oh, so very respectful. It's kind of like that. And that's what a lawsuit's all about. It's, instead of filing a lawsuit against somebody, you could go out and get your gun and just shoot them. But this is a much more peaceful way of doing things. It actually isn't that bad. People think, oh my God.
More peaceful and legal.
More peaceful and legal, right. So I wrote this letter to these guys. Greetings. Please be informed the lawsuit has been filed against you and other defendants by the foundation and other named plaintiffs. Enclosed, find a summons copy of the complaint, a courtesy copy of the lease pendants, and a set of interrogatories. Then I tell them a little bit, we're concerned about the proposed sale and use of the land for paramilitary purposes. It's incompatible. I also tell them at any time during this lawsuit, we're prepared to negotiate. So I'm kind of giving them a little, what's called feather. I say, hey, you know, at any time we could work this thing out. I'm trying to be like a hippie, too, besides being a lawyer. Doesn't necessarily work every time. I said, however, my clients are prepared to take this litigation through, try and appeal. So I tell them, we'd like to work it out, but if you don't want to work it out, we're going to go at you. We're going to keep doing it. Okay, so that's my letter. Let's go to the next page and see what this says. It says Chancery Court Summons, State of Tennessee, Lewis County. I'm going to get a little picture of that for the camera.
The name of these guys, it says the Paradise.
Got it?
Yeah.
Who do they turn out to be?
Huh?
Who did those paramilitary guys turn out to be?
No, they were Matthew Shannon Jennings, which later turned out to be a corporation called Mirabilis. We'll tell you a little bit about that. So the first thing you got to do when you file, first of all, when you file a lawsuit, what you're actually doing is, you ready for this? This is good. My mother always told me, son, stop complaining. Complaining gets you nowhere. You've heard that expression, right?
Complain, you can win money.
Complain, don't complain. Guess what you file in the court to start a lawsuit? A complaint, exactly. A complaint. You file a complaint. And does the complaint say, wah, 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 wah?
Yes, real words.
In real words, it does. It's a complaint. But you file the complaint in the courthouse, but you have to let the person you're complaining against know about the lawsuit. So you serve them a summons. The summons can be served by the sheriff. And that's the fun part. You put this complaint together and it talks about why you don't like what they're doing, who you are, a kind of whole story, and you get the sheriff to serve it. So the sheriff pulls up one day. That'll get your attention, right? You look out the window and you see the sheriff's car. The sheriff does that. Well, in this particular case, though, these folks were out of town. They were in another state. So we were able to send them the summons and the complaint by certified mail. That was okay. And we did that. And see the next page over? It says, complaint to enjoin or limit a nuisance, injunctive relief, declaratory judgment, and damages. Okay. Well, the first thing you do in a lawsuit, let's look at a sample complaint. It looks a certain way. Do you see how, you ever seen this before? Anybody ever seen this? The first, it's kind of like a heading. So first we'll put in, let's say we're going to have Kim versus Noah. Okay, so there it is, Noah. So Kim's the plaintiff. That's what you call the person who's filing the complaint. And Noah is the defendant. And then over here, it's the court of Farm School. So that's kind of how the complaint looks. Well, what?
I just love for a little while to put my gum out.
Okay. So anyway, that's, and then the next thing you put in a complaint is you sort of put what you're actually complaining about, sort of the title. So let's say Kim is suing Noah over, we'll just say, what? Yeah? What's that? You what?
The middle school room. It's next door.
Yeah.
The middle school room.
I'm sorry, I'm not following you. Tell me again.
Middle school room.
Middle school. You want to sue him over the middle school use of the middle school room? Okay. So you put the title in use of middle school room. And that's what it is. Now, what do you want? Use of middle school room. A lot of times in a lawsuit, you're looking for money. In our particular lawsuit against Mirabilis, we didn't want money, we just wanted them to go away. So that's called an injunction or declaratory relief. We wanted injunctive relief. So the use of the middle school room is injunctive relief.
The use of the middle room.
Middle school room. Okay, that's right, we've got to be very specific. That's injunctive relief.
Mistrial.
Okay, you put that all in, then you tell them who you are. So Kim is the plaintiff, and you would describe Kim as, how old are you?
I'm not
12. Kim, 12 years old.
B-O-U-T.
And then you'd say, for instance,
Today.
how much you use the room, you really like it, you've got books in there, blah, 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 blah. And then you talk about Noah, who Noah is, and then you talk about how Noah has been really bugging you. And he doesn't let you use that room. He comes in there and takes over like he owns a place or something. Okay? So you write all of that and you complain. And at the end of the complaint, you say to the court, you have what's called the prayer. There's a prayer. And it's not like, okay, it's not like, dear Lord, give me some money in this lawsuit. Not quite like that. Okay? It's more like prayer is what you're asking the court to give you. It's kind of an interesting term. You pray to the court to hit that defendant with everything they can possibly get. Like big money damages, $1 million damages. You pray for $1 million. This time, though, if you just prayed ordinarily, you might not get it. In a lawsuit, you might. So in our case, let's look at the complaint. Everybody looking at it? So you have an introduction there. It talks about the farm community as a spiritual community founded in 1971 based on the principles of nonviolence and respect for the earth. We just talk about how we host and we're a location for training people all over the world in practices of midwifery, permaculture, alternative building, and we talk about how we've been informed that these people are going to buy land to operate a military training camp, and then we talk about jurisdiction. You see that page 3 of the complaint? You have to, the court has to have jurisdiction. It has to be able to hear the case. Then we describe all the plaintiffs. That was Leslie Hunt, Michael Lee, and Deborah Flowers. They're like the trustees of the land. And then we describe...
The people who were decided to be, who were named as trustees, when were they named as trustees?
That's a whole other story. They're currently the trustees. They were named like years ago. And then we do a summary on page 5, factual summary. We talk about how we're an intentional community. We have about 200 people living on the property. We have plenty of international kids to the country. Here at Farm School, it says here. We even talk about the Farm School on page 5. You see the bottom paragraph? The Farm School provides alternative education for school-age students for both elementary grades and high school. Activities of the Farm School include horseback riding by children on all areas of the property, including the adjoining northern border. So we're setting it up. We're letting people know, look at this. We're delivering babies. We're having children here. We're showing how all of our activities aren't going to work with a bunch of people shooting guns. Okay? So we go through all of that. And then we get to good faith effort. We try to contact them, and they didn't respond. And then we ask for our prayer, like, get these guys out of here. Okay. Now, what's that? All right. Now, can we go to this? It's the plaintiff's first interrogatories of defendant respondent Jennings. Okay, and I know this is a little bit deep, but you at least get sort of a feeling about what a legal suit's at. So we file a complaint, and we serve them. Well, what's the next thing that happens? They have to answer it. And most of the time, they'll answer it and say, you know what they'll say? Okay, I'll give you a choice. Choice A, yeah, you're right, we're leaving. Choice 2, you're totally wrong, we deny everything, you're full of it. Choice 3 is, you're totally wrong, you're full of it, and we're going to sue you for suing us. Choice 4, none of the above. Which one is it?
B.
B or C? Right. Choice B, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. Choice C, you're wrong, and we're going to sue you for suing us. They actually threaten that. So that's the next thing that happens. Then, guess what happens next?
You sue them?
No, we sued them already. We filed a complaint. Let's say they filed an answer. You know what happens next? You ready for this? This is the term. It's called discovery. You know what we get to do? Go through their underwear? No, who said that? Okay. Go through their dresser drawer?
Yeah, mine's incriminating.
Okay, you know what discovery is? You know what we get to do in a lawsuit, Karuna? Once the lawsuit's filed, you get to ask the other side practically every question that could relate to the lawsuit you want. Everything. So look at these interrogatories here. I'm going to show you some of the stuff we asked them. We asked them first the legal name and address of their corporation. Then we ask for their financial assets, including real property, bank, mutual funds, shares of stocks, insurance policies, business ownership, equipment, livestock, farm goods, toys, underwear. No, it wasn't in there. And describe your present location, bank and mutual funds and shares and blah, blah, blah. We can ask tax returns. We get to like be really nosy.
Can you get their social security number?
Oh yeah. As a matter of fact, I'm glad you asked that question. You know what we found out? We hired our own private investigator. Remember I told you I took pictures of the license plates? We ran the license plates. We found out that 2 of the guys had 2 different social security numbers and 8 different addresses. These guys were like undercover, CIA type, what's that program? NSA. Yeah, I mean, they were those kind of people, like really very sketchy. Then we asked them for monthly expenses, rent, mortgage, operational expenses, utility, gas, electric, internet, installment contracts. Then, the biggie, has any purchasing any held a state or federal tax, social security numbers we asked them for, and all right, now this is good. I like this one. It's question number 15. Okay, ready? This is good. Explain in detail the scope, nature, and specifics of activities planned by defendants on the property in question, including but not limited to types and amounts of weapons will be used, how often they will be used, types and amounts of detonation devices that will be used, how often they will be used, types and amounts of aircraft, types and amounts of sound-producing devices, size of each training class, number of classes operating at any one time, safety and environmental precautions you plan to take, and any and all military-type equipment planned to be used, purchased for such use.
You only gave him this much space for that answer.
Right, well, yeah, good point. Good point. Let's see. Zach asked, how come we gave him that much space? Because we wanted to write real teeny like. No, actually, we gave him that, but it's really, they actually need more. Did they ever answer this? No, they didn't.
Why not? Don't they have to answer?
Well, yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. Next one, number 16. State with specificity what government contracts the defendants have or anticipate securing. You know what we found out later on? I'll tell you something. We found out that one of the guys who was in charge of this corporation had been a Secret Service agent for like 30 years. That means he probably had been guarding Dick Cheney. That's what we found out. A few years before, he was buddy-buddy with the president and the vice president. He'd been their bodyguard, the official bodyguard. And now he was starting this corporation that was going to do training, and they're going to be hired by the government. Well, we think that they probably had a million, maybe not a billion, but large contract with the government, and they were just going to go in and do all this training, maybe go to Iraq, and military contractors over there. There's a lot of money.
Very well have been like a sector of
Like who? A what?
Blackwater or something.
They could have been like Blackwater. They probably.
Couldn't they have been part of Blackwater theoretically?
Maybe they could have, but we didn't find that out. And we asked them whether.
A big part of subcontracting, a group that's being subcontracted by a very large paramilitary
Right.
organization.
Now, number 19, it says state the names and addresses of any government or government agency, public or private certification authorizing agency that certifies or authorizes your military-type activities. We're starting to get really nosy. We want to know what government agencies are involved here.
Did they ever pay, it says here the defendants pay damages for the destruction of plaintiff's property for the foreseeable damage stemming from the defendant's blockage.
Well,
Blockage of
I'll get to that.
Did they ever pay anything?
I'm going to get to that. That's the end of this thing. Now we also were able to ask him for what's called admissions. Besides asking him interrogatories, you get to say this. Karuna, yes or no? Did you wash your sneakers in the last 3 weeks? No. Okay. No, it would be more like, do you admit that you didn't wash your sneakers in the last 3 weeks? And you have to say yes or no. See, that's where you give them what's called request for admissions. You say, Christina, do you admit you're not wearing shoes? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, we gotcha.
Is this better?
Kim, do you admit you're wearing a Beatles Yellow Submarine shirt?
Yes.
Okay. See, you corner them in. They have to answer yes or no. That's a admissions, request for admissions. Now, we filed this lawsuit. I want to tell you about something funny that happened. We sent it to them via email, by a certified mail. We went to make sure these guys that we met out on the land got it. 4 days later, I get a call in my office. Pick up the phone. Hello, can I speak with Alan Graf? This is Alan Graf. This is Daniel Barks. I'm a lawyer in Washington, D.C., representing Mirabilis. How you doing, man?
You actually said
Well, yeah, lawyers don't usually talk to each other like that. They don't say, how you doing, man? Of course, I have a website, hippielawyer.com. He probably researched me out, figured out who he was. I said, I'm doing okay. What can I do for you? He goes, we've got your lawsuit. We got a copy of it, and I'm representing Mirabilis Ventures. We're a big corporation out of Florida. And listen, bro. So like after he called me man and bro, I'm like thinking, red alert, red alert, red alert. Batten down the hatches. Don't trust this guy. Just listen, bro.
I think that you were going to fall for something.
Yeah, stupid. Right. Listen, bro, we're not going to put in a military training camp, we're going to put in a green environmental community. I was like, okay, it sounds pretty good. He goes, now listen, as an officer of the court, now attorneys are called officers of the court, lawyers of the court. As an officer in the court, you can take my word for this, that we're not going to,
I'm a lawyer, you can trust me.
Yeah, right, exactly. Good, get that on tape.
I said, I'm a lawyer, you can trust me.
You could have like, you know, those little shirts with like slash through it. Okay. He says, as an officer of court, you can trust me. We want you to drop the lawsuit and we're going to put in a green environmental community. I was like, okay, sounds pretty good. I was like hopeful, like maybe he was actually, you know, he would do it. I said, well, I'll tell you what, Danny boy, I didn't call him Danny boy. I probably should have, because he was calling me bro and man. I was broman, or man bro. Alan man bro Graf. Okay. So, man bro. Anyway, I saw, yo, man bro here. Just because you're a lawyer, I don't think I'm going to necessarily believe you. We're going to have to put something in writing. Oh, no problem. We'll put something in writing. We'll just take care of this, no problem. So I let everybody in the farm know, it looks like these guys are going to concede. Premature, a little bit jumping the gun. 4 months later, we're still in the middle of a lawsuit, and they didn't do anything. Well, anyway, this guy tells me that he's got this guy in Tennessee who's going to put this all together. He gives me the website. And,
Probably like a tracking number.
okay, just in case. I can go through the cashier and they'll figure out how much I'm worth. So anyway, okay, I'll put it somewhere else. Never mind. All right. So anyway, he says to me, hey, there's this guy in Tennessee who does these green communities, and he gives me this website, and I go to the website, and he's got all those green communities and everything. He says, he's going to do it, he's going to put it in, don't worry about it, we're not going to do the military camp anymore, we're all cool. So we call up the guy.
Decided to no longer be a paramilitary
Right.
corporation.
So we call up the guy, and he says, I don't know anything about this. And so I call back Dan Barks, and he says, what? You called them? You weren't supposed to do that? If I tell you something, it's confidential. You can't go running to tell anybody else. I said, Dan, it's not confidential. You just told me that this guy's going to do it. That's so unprofessional. You know, when he gets all like, kind of all worked up. I was like, okay. And so I'm thinking, lawyer, can't trust them. Not all lawyers. You can trust me.
Sure we can, Alan. Sure we can.
That's good. Skeptical.
Question authority.
Question authority. All right, so we try to work it out with them, and then we start doing our own investigation of Mirabilis, and we find out some really weird stuff about them. Let's take a 5-minute break. When we come back, I'll tell you about how weird Mirabilis was.